I'm making another album, and I've had quite a extraordinary experience this week because I've been listening back to the recordings of the singing lessons that I've had with Laura. Now, the reason that I went back and found these recordings in the first place is because me and Laura are working on doing a singing workshop together. But anyway, for me, it's been, I've never had an experience like this before because I've never recorded, it's been a long time since I've done any kind of music lessons with a teacher like this, and I've not listened back to, when I didn't record them. Probably the last time I had a music lesson, there wasn't, this is showing my age now, but I would have had to be on a cassette tape or something. So the Zoom and things like that didn't exist. So it's been very interesting to hear, how far I've come has been very motivating, but also listening back and recognizing my various different motivations for singing. And also, it's funny, you when you listen back to yourself talking to a coach like this, where you're being asked a lot of questions about, your assumptions and the things that are holding you back, it becomes even clearer to you what is going on now. It's almost like you've got a microscope on your past and how that relates to the present, and how your past kind of assumptions relate to the present. And I found it incredibly helpful on this album because I'll be honest, this is the third album episode now where I've reported that I've been kind of struggling with engaging with my album. I've been doing the Focus 42 thing that I spoke about on the last album episode, and that's been great. I've completed 42-minute sessions, but the music really hasn't been the focus there. I've got ahead with some other things, with email writing and to a certain extent with podcasts, and my diet and exercise. But still, my music hasn't really come to the fore. And in listening back to these singing lessons, I think it's become clear to me what the reason for this could be. And I think it's got partially something to do with the fact that I reached the end of the last album writing process. And what's quite funny about it is that it's almost exactly matching what the last album, like a period, the subject of the last album was the creative process. And the start of it is it starts with this question, what now? Which is, you get to the top of a mountain, you achieve a goal, and when you're kind of working towards a goal, so for instance, finishing an album, you've got this, this feeling, it's going to be great. When I finish it, I'll feel so good, and I'll feel so accomplished, and I can't wait. It's almost like you have this feeling that everything's going to be different when you achieve this goal. And then when you achieve the goal, it's like, it's like opening a door. I don't mean opening a door metaphorically. I mean literally just opening a door, or scratching your bum or something like that. It's nothing. It's just a thing, just like anything else is a thing. It's like a shoe sitting on the floor. It's just a thing that happens, and often this can be kind of accompanied by a sort of feeling of existential emptiness. What's the point, kind of thing. And that's really what the first song of What Now is, which was my last album, is expressing. And I think even though I've moved straight on to the next album, I'm still in that what now phase. It's like I've not moved to the next phase, which is like the solving of the problem. And so that was an insight I got from listening back to the album, listening back to the lessons, because I was talking about that arc, and I'm like, what I'm describing in this song. I think the first lesson that I did with Laura, I sang the song, What Now? Not the first lesson, I think it was the second or maybe even the third, because we do a lot of coaching. Laura does a lot of coaching with me. So it's not all about singing songs, which is incredibly valuable. I mean, particularly with the voice, your psychology is so connected with what comes out, the tone and the way that you sing. It's extraordinary. So that's why we do so much of that kind of thing. Anyway, so I think it was in the second lesson or something, I was talking about what now meant, and I was like, this is exactly how I'm feeling at this point. Is there's kind of this sort of disengagement. And I assumed that just immediately starting, I could maybe sidestep or not have this experience. And I think what it might be is that I've not honoured the experience in some way. I know that sounds a little bit woo, but what I mean is I've not accepted that there is that. It's almost like I've tried to completely ignore it. So, and you know, my doing of this was a couple of episodes ago now, doing of the splurging, where I did 47 splurges in a day, were almost like me fighting against that experience. So that's one thing. And the other thing is it's reminded me, listening back to these lessons, I think I'm now listening back to lesson 5. And listening to these lessons has also reminded me of just how important to me singing itself is. Oh, and actually, before I say that, I just wanted to talk about time. This was absolutely a big light bulb, and it's happened to me many times in my life before, particularly in using the music machine system, where what it is you realize just how inaccurate your memory of what happened when is. Because at the moment, I think there's 5 weeks to go or something like that, or maybe I'm coming up on 4 weeks now. Okay. So, but when I started feeling like, oh no, I'm running out of time in this album, it was 6 weeks ago. It was 6 weeks to go before the deadline. And my memory of the last album, so this time in the last album, was that I was way ahead, and that by this point, that this album I'm far, far behind. But when I listen back to the lessons, that's not true at all. I'm in a very similar situation. So there's obviously something about the psychology of how I'm feeling now is causing me just to assume that I'm way behind in terms of practical things than I actually am, which was amazing. I was like, huh. So I hadn't actually got that much further this time last album. It was just I'm feeling different about it. And that is something that, like, for you, I really want you to just, I mean, it's hard to accept, maybe the wrong word, but it's hard to like really understand on a fundamental level until you experience it, until you have something. For instance, the music machine is a great example. So, and by the way, there's a link in the show notes to the music machine system. If you haven't got it already, I thoroughly recommend it. So until you have some way of actually being able for your past self to talk to you and say, this is what you did. So some kind of record of what you did in the past. Your memory or your sort of knowledge of how your creative process went is going to be utterly distorted according to how you feel now. It's just, it's almost like there is obviously some connection between how you feel now, your memory and what actually happened. But it's extremely tenuous, and it's almost more, it's closer to how you feel in this moment than what actually happened. Okay, it's just time and again this has been demonstrated to me. And in listening back to these lessons, because obviously at the start of each lesson I kind of give a brief, because the reason I started the lessons in the first place was in order to start singing in my last album. So I give a kind of little review of where I'm at with the album writing process. So it's very clear that when I had 4 weeks to go, I had done this, and when I had to, it was just, I can't argue with that. It's past Mike telling present Mike, you're not far behind where you were before, even though you feel that you are. Which, and the reason I feel far behind is because of this kind of struggle is the wrong word, but struggle in a sense. It's like struggle to feel in it. It's like it kind of, in a way, it feels like it just doesn't matter very much. And maybe I feel that it should matter, right? It needs to matter more. Because this time, last album, I'm pretty sure it did matter more. So anyway, that leads me on to the final thing that I've noticed, which is that I think the reason that it doesn't matter more at the moment is because it's almost like I think I'm expecting it to be something, I'm expecting the experience to be materially different to last time or something like that, where I'm expecting to all of a sudden be some kind of a songwriter or singer that I'm not yet. It's almost like I feel like, well, I finished one album, so now this album, I'm ready. I'm now ready. I should be an amazing songwriter who can, write in a completely different way. It's almost like, because I've completed this, because I got to the top of the last album, mountain, that now I should be able to scale a mountain 10 times the size without ropes or something. Even though I struggled up to the top of this much smaller mountain, now I'm ready. Now I'm ready or something. And the fact of the matter is, I've completed 8 songs in my life. And I feel that because I've completed the last album, I've completed 80 or something. And so when I compare the feeling that I have, or the experience that I have, that I actually have, with what I expect to be able to do, there's still a very, very big gap. So obviously what I'm talking about right now is my perception of quality. And I think one of the reasons I'm disengaged is that, and also the other thing, this is huge, is when you're finishing an album or anything, when you're finishing something, you've worked on those things a lot, right? And also, if you use the music machine, the things that you're working on are the best of the things that you have made, right? So you're constantly doing this stuff which has been worked on a lot, so it's been improved and improved successively. And on top of that, you're only working on the things which are the best of the things. Whereas when you're, because bear in mind, I went straight from finishing the last album into splurging. And now I'm at the start of the process and I'm working on lots of things which might not make it, and they haven't been successfully improved. So there's that quality comparison as well. So what's happening is that I'm, on the one hand, thinking that I'm better than I am, or thinking that the music should be better than it is, because I'm thinking I'm better than I am. I'm feeling like, well, I feel like I've written 80 songs, not 8. Yeah. And on top of that, I've got the close proximity of finishing an album to starting one. And a lot of people in this situation, because I've over the years coached many people, and the instant solution they come up with is, well, you need a break then. And I mean, yes, that would be a solution, but I don't have that option, and I'm glad I don't have that option. And it's not the only option. The other option is to recognize this and work on my relationship to quality. Is to like take my own, take my own process, my own methods, and really just focus on them and go, look, is to accept where I am right now in terms of my ability to sing and write songs, lower the bar, and trust the process and not focus on the quality right now, not allow that to disengage me from the process. I mean, again, I have been doing music sessions, but it's just they've been very and I think it's because I'm expecting something different. I want there to be something different. So these insights have come as a result of listening back to my past self. And I think in terms of lowering the bar, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing one splurge a day. So I just did one, in fact, just before this. So I'm going to do one splurge a day. I'm really going to focus on the things that the many, many insights I got from the singing lessons, and really focus on my singing. I'm going to make this album a collection of songs which are, I don't know what will happen in the end, but at this point, my plan is to have as few instruments as possible in all of the songs, and it just simply be about the song. I'm not even worried. I'm not even caring about the production or anything like that. It's just voice, maybe a couple of other instruments, and that's going to be it. And see where I land. But I mean, one thing's for sure, and do take this with a pinch of salt, because I've just had a conversation about it, so I'm likely to be excited. But at this point, anyway, I feel more engaged and motivated to focus on this album. Now I've understood what could have been going on and what my kind of thinking errors might be. So it's going to be interesting to find out if this makes a difference in my coming week. But the very good news is that I'm nowhere near as far, in scare quotes, behind as I thought I was, behind my past self, if I compare myself to the last album. So that's great news. And I know that I have plenty of time to get a half-decent album out again. So, with all that said, I'm going to stop talking about making an album and start making one.